Hey everybody, I'm getting ready for my next Sunday gig, which I'm happy to report is a paying gig. I've cleared the threshold to get paid, so that's nice. Um, and so what they do is there are two songs that are persistent through the service and then two songs that change every week. So the opening song for the entire month of October is going to be God is My Source by Karen Drucker. And I'll put a link in the description to the original for your reference. But what's going on right now at the church I'm doing bass for is we tend to just kind of make everything our own. And by we, I mean the music director says that's what we're doing. And that's actually very freeing, but within limits, because of course songs go a certain way, so you can't just completely make stuff up. So what I did, because I made the big mistake of listening to just the beginning of the song on YouTube just to hear how it went. And how it went was djembe drum and singing and nothing else. And I said to the music director, leave it to you to pick music that's a song that has no music. And everyone was kind of looking at me funny, and they all kind of shrugged, and they didn't really get what I was saying. And it was because had I listened to more of the song, then the actual music would have started up like, oh. So, fortunately, I didn't make as much of a fool of myself about it as I could have. But what I did was I made up a bass line that sounded like this. And that got me through the service, and the congregation was very excited about it. But now that I'm here in my studio space and practicing for the coming week, the music director was saying, well, would you be interested in doing a bass solo with this? And the more I've noodled around, I don't know that I'm not going to go so far as to say I don't think there is such a thing as a bass solo that could be played over it. I think that there's enough going on with our performance that we don't really need a bass solo out of me on top of it. I do view the bass as a support instrument, and I know there's people who think differently about it, and they're more, we'll say, aggressive with their bass playing, and they do treat it more as a lead instrument, but that's fine, that's for them. I'm much more into being in the rhythm section. So with that being the case, what this video is about today is how I'm refining the bass line that I conjured up. That it's kind of the stripped down version of the real thing that I never got so far as to hear. It's a very busy bass line in the original version. It's very muted because it's however they recorded the bass is kind of in there somewhere. And when I was able to focus in on it, I was right about doing the apentatonic shape for what I was going to come up with. But the original bass player did like more of it. And my feeling was literally to make it more of the feeling. So taking the cue from the djembe drumming that was being done on stage with me, the bass line I came up with that root, then hammering on to the octave, I really felt that was very effective, and so did the congregation. That really, keeping things moving in rhythm and in context. Well, what I was doing was, as I said, root to hammer on octave and then back. And then when it was time for the Everything I Need line, I was doing C to D. Well, it turns out really it's F to G. Well, I got away with it because C to D is the fifths of F and G. So in my space here, I started to noodle around like, I really think this is F to G, and it was. And that's more effective than what I was doing. But then again, here's how that sounded if I just did my root hammer thing and then F to G. It's passable. Again, I'm staying in rhythm and in context, but it's missing something, right? So the more I thought about it, I thought, okay, what about doing eighth notes? And then that way, it's not just kind of like, not just whole notes root, but it was kind of airy, which could be good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, airy bass lines can be very effective at punctuating things. But again, I'm always thinking forward movement, like how can we move this song along? And it's a very forward-driven song, especially the way that it's being performed at our church. So, I should say the church. I'm not actually a member. I'm a Merking bass player. But still, I consider myself part of the team. So here's what happened when I threw in doing eighth notes to kind of bring up the F to G back to my A hammer-on root, or hammer-on octave. Again, not terrible, but it's missing something again. And missing something doesn't mean play every note on the fretboard, and it doesn't mean let's make it dotted 64th notes or something. What it means is, in Disney terms, they always say, can we plus this up? Well, plussing it up again does not mean throwing spaghetti at it. It means this is really good, but is there just another way we can just make it a little bit better? And that's what they're aiming for, and that's what I'm aiming for. So it hit me that it can be like, especially when you're a beginner. Now, I'm not a rank beginner, but I always address things in terms of beginners in the event that beginners find their way to this channel and get this information. And if you do, hey, thanks for watching. Octaves and roots, they're very basic, all right? And they can seem lame, let's be real about it, but don't discount them because they're very important. That's your role as the bass player, is to provide things like that, especially the root. It's got to be in there somewhere because you're helping reinforce like the key and what chord we're on and that sort of thing. Well, because my bass line is octave driven, where it's root hammering on the octave and back in a rhythmic contextual way, then what about octaving the F to G? Now, here's one of the things. I'm not rank beginner, but it doesn't mean I'm awesome at all the techniques, and I too am learning and improving. So I'm not here to talk down. I'm here to be part of this, to say, like, as a community, people who are musicians and interested in this case in bass playing, I'm not here to lord over you. I'm here to encourage and be part of, like, just all getting better, like all learning and all improving and sharing knowledge. Well, octaves have been kind of rough sailing for me, just because I'm so used to playing kind of anything else and things that tend to be more linear. And then octaves come along, and then I just either like freeze up or I can't do it. But I can do root fifth just fine. So it's like, well, you sure you can't kind of reach that octave? So here's, with all that preamble, here it is now with octave buildup. So we got my root, hammer on, octave, and then octave F to G back to A. All right, so I think right now, today, that's what I'm going to go with for this coming Sunday. I really think that's why a baseline I feel very good about. The lead, we'll say riff, it's just 3 notes, but it's a very effective 3 notes. It gets people's attention. It got people's attention, so I know it's going to get people's attention again. And then now doing these octaves up, it's going to, it's forward driving, right? But it's sympathetic to what I was doing. I was doing octave to begin with. Now I've got octave again, but it doesn't come off like I don't know how to do anything else. It comes off like, so in interior decorating, like if you watch those shows or whatever on HGTV or whatever, they're always going on and on about, I've got a red couch, so over here I'm going to get a red lamp or a red picture frame or something, because it's going to tie together with another element in the room. And if you do too much, it's like, well, now you've got this red room. But, if you don't do that, then there's no cohesion. So they're always trying to come up with these kinds of ways about, okay, I've got a blue couch or a blue lamp or a blue picture or something. So now what do I do to bring another element in to tie it together, so that it doesn't have to mean that the whole room has to be blue. It just means that if this is a dominant color in some way that your eyes can be drawn to, what's another thing that your eye will be drawn to say, hey, I meant to do this. So same with this. Now your ear is drawn to the bass line that's being played. And I meant to do this. Hey, it's octave all the way now. But it's not, I don't think it's dull. I think it's simplistic, yes, but I don't think it's dull. I'm kind of a big believer here that less really is more a lot of times. It's not to take away from shredders and virtuosos and whatever. But again, things that make people virtuosos isn't just that they have technical ability, it's knowing what to play and how to play it. So sometimes you really do have to know when to put down the paintbrush or when to stop plucking. So speaking of, so I've been plucking this, and I thought, you know what, but again, just tone, man, I'm going for the tone. And what's the tone going to be now? We've worked out the mechanics of what the bass line actually is, but now what's the tone going to be? And in this instance, I don't think that the finger plucking thing is quite the sound I want. So I really do now want palm muted picking. And that's one of the things that makes me got those wavy concern lines thinking about those octaves, because now with picking, which I don't normally do, I do finger pluck. Am I going to hit these octaves, or am I going to hit wrong stuff all over the fretboard? And you know what? That's why you practice, right? So I'm feeling good after some practice runs that I can get that consistency, and then really the muscle memory is what I'm kind of building up now. Of, yeah, all right, this is the bass line and here's how it goes, and there's going to be octaves, so you just kind of, the goal for me is get it to where it's just automatic. I'm not overthinking, oh no, I better hit these notes or I'm dead meat. It's just pluck the notes and just keep doing it and keep doing it. And if you mess up, just keep doing it. Don't go, oh, and start over. Just keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. One other thing that you heard in the sample videos is that the drum machine is playing something similar yet different to the original song. It's not the original djembe drumming, because I wasn't going to sit down and program all that. But I found a pre-programmed pattern that fits the tempo and the feel of the song. And that's been sufficient to practice to. Well, Al Lesis here is not going to get sick of hearing it that I'm practicing the same 6 notes or whatever over and over and over. So that's the thing. If you have a drum machine or whatever you're using as your metronome, assuming that's what you're doing, you know, it's there for you. It's a tool. And just get into that groove, literally. Get into the groove and build up the muscle memory. And you know what? I'm feeling good going into Sunday, but I got to keep practicing. So here's the bass line one more time now, palm muted and plucked, and you'll get an idea of what you're going to be hearing when I do the next Sunday video, when I sneakily film what's been going on with either the rehearsal or ideally the performance. So in conclusion, what you want to do is, if you're crafting an original bass line, think about, can you improve upon it, or is it just fine the way it is? But the way to know that is to experiment. So that's what I did here. And again, in a pretty limited range of fretboard and notes, but I've kind of decided less is more, and I'm putting down the paintbrush. And I'm going to go with this, and we'll see how we do on this coming Sunday. All right, thanks for watching. I appreciate your interest, and be back with more in another video. Thanks, bye.